What does 2019 have in store for the price of Bitcoin, and is today's pump the start of a new bull run? Well, hold your horses, or perhaps I should say bulls, on the talk of a new bull run. We are far from being out of the woods, and while it is very promising to see 2019 kicking off with a bit of positive price action, this is far from indicating that we are on the start of a new bull run and that we're going to be hitting new all-time highs overnight or anything like that. So I'm enthusiastic about the price. I'm enthusiastic about the future of the technology, but let's keep it all in perspective where we are currently. Now, the guys over at Weiss Ratings have come out with a new report citing some of their reasons why they're very bullish about cryptocurrencies heading into 2019. At the end of the video as well, I want to cover off some fun price predictions from commentators around the crypto space. Now, in particular, Weiss Ratings is looking at the overall market trends. Looking back on 2018, obviously 2018 was a total disaster for the price of cryptocurrencies. But when we start to look at the big picture of the crypto economy, the price is one metric, and I know we spend a lot of time talking about the price, and the price is important without a doubt, but a lot of things have happened. More users, more investments into the industry overall. We had things like Hashgraph and Holochain that are coming to fruition. Bitcoin's Lightning Network growing even bigger. The EOS mainnet launched, and on and on and on and on it goes in terms of really powerful stuff happening in the crypto economy. Obviously, one of the biggest trends of 2018 was the downturn in the ICO utility market. Utility tokens not proving so useful after all, unfortunately. Still waiting on network effect for a lot of those utility tokens. Some utility tokens did do well, but the bulk majority of them really failed to deliver on the promises that they had. Now, before diving into those specific forecasts, the guys over at Weiss figure out all this stuff by looking, of course, at market cycles, but also at their particular ratings model, which looks to identify coins, at the combination of risk, reward, technology adoption, all that fun kind of stuff. With that being said, here are Weiss ratings forecasts. The first, Bitcoin will be increasingly used as a store of value because Bitcoin costs virtually nothing to store, extremely efficient to transport, and of course it is very secure. It cannot be confiscated by any government, and really no other asset provides that kind of security or those particular unique properties when it comes down to it. Bitcoin is amazing. Cross-border payments, storing wealth, even though, yes, we did have an 80% decline in 2018, but that, of course, doesn't look at people who bought Bitcoin in 2016 and 2015 and are still holding, because there's a lot of people who are. There's a lot of addresses which haven't been active for a while, but every once in a while, one of these whale accounts wakes up and somebody sells off their Bitcoin. So they're still out there, and in terms of censorship-resistant, government-resistant money, Bitcoin has really been proving to be powerful in that regard. The second forecast from Weiss Ratings, that in 2019, Bitcoin will reach its new all-time high. I hope so. That would be amazing. I'm cautiously optimistic. They're specifically focusing on looking at the previous trends and how Bitcoin has had major run-ups followed by intense corrections, and that 2019 might be the year when we see another run-up, at least starting to happen, if not happening within itself. Now, obviously, you can look and say, okay, you cannot base future performance completely off of past performance, but you do have to understand the markets do move in cycles. And yes, the future may be very different from the previous cycles, but chances are it's not going to be as different as a lot of people might like to think that it's going to be. All the people out there calling for Bitcoin to go to zero kind of missed the point on the whole idea of this technology. 2018 might have been a good year in terms of being able to clean out some of the tourists who were here just for the quick, sick gains, but not really for the technology or the wider movement or the wider industry as a whole. And those tourists will be back when the new all-time highs start happening. They'll be the ones who will be buying Bitcoin from you when it's worth $20,000 again. Something to keep in mind. But the groundwork has been laid for the next bull run to happen. There's so much that has taken place from all the investments with people like Bakkt or Fidelity getting into the game, Circle's OTC desk, new wallets, new users, new infrastructure, Lightning Network growing, upgrades, etc., etc., etc. It's all here. It's all being put together. It's just a question of when we're going to see the price follow what the technology is leading. The third forecast, select altcoins will rise from relative obscurity to new all-time highs, and some even might reach 20x their previous all-time highs. Now, I think the important thing they mention here is a select group of altcoins. There are some amazing altcoins out there, without a doubt. There are also some really amazing platforms being built, but there are some things that are simply never going to come back. Things that were kind of scammy to begin with, I mean, that's a given. But in terms of some of the utility tokens, for example, remember, they're startups. 90% of startups fail. These utility tokens may not have so much utility. They may not have a network. And if there's no network, there's no utility to have that token. So a lot of utility tokens, I think, will disappear. Exchange tokens will probably continue to be incredibly popular. Some other niche utility tokens could do very well. But what you really want to be looking at, the platforms. The platforms, I think, will be doing very well in the next bull run. Looking at EOS, looking at Cardano, and on and on and on down the list. There's a lot to name here. There's a lot of great opportunities when it comes to the different altcoins that could do very well in a future bull run. Some interesting privacy coins, I think, are also going to continue to be very, very popular moving forward in the crypto economy. The next prediction, that a select group of cryptocurrencies will reach multi-trillion-dollar market caps, particularly the cryptocurrencies which are focusing on building the Internet of the future. Internet 3.0, if you will. We do need a more sustainable, a more equitable, an internet that is censorship resistant and takes some of the power away from the major corporations which have taken over the internet of the promise of the 90s versus the internet of the reality of today are two very different things. And it's hard to predict back in the 90s what could have become of the internet. But here we are today, and a lot of new exciting things are being developed. And I can easily see something like Cardano being one of these trillion-dollar market cap companies in the future if they can deliver on what they promise to deliver on. The next forecast is that a select group of cryptocurrencies, particularly Stellar, Lumens, and XRP, will start to disrupt banking. Now, this prediction and the last prediction, I'm not so sure this is actually going to happen in 2019. Maybe we're going to see the start of this happening, but I think these are really more long-term trends that we're looking at for, 2020 and beyond to see really big shakeups happening in terms of something like XRP or Stellar Lumens overthrowing the current banking order to the extent that they can. Perhaps we can really see SWIFT, for example, being put on notice by XRP. It seems that XRP and SWIFT are really the biggest competitors to each other. And if banks actually start using XRP, could be very, very, very big. I know I've discussed before the idea that could XRP have a bigger market cap than Bitcoin someday? Well, the guys over at Weiss Ratings seem to think that yes, if XRP can supplant SWIFT and become the way that banks transact money internationally, then yes, it could be the #1 cryptocurrency in terms of market cap. Possible. I know every XRP holder out there wants that to happen. Will it happen? Don't know. It's like I said in my Bitcoin versus XRP video, even if XRP does get to the #1 position in terms of market cap, that doesn't mean that Bitcoin is somehow less important. On to the next prediction. The Bitcoin Me Too coins will fade away. This is something I mentioned in my Crypto Trends of 2019 video as well, and the coins that I'm not looking to buy video also, but I really see that the Bitcoin alternative versions are going to have a very, very hard time moving forward. So much damage has already been done to the communities of Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, for example. Does Bitcoin Gold even have a community? I mean, it's still such a high market cap coin. Maybe over in East Asia, they're all about Bitcoin Gold, but I never hear anyone talking about Bitcoin Gold. And I really think that in the long run, what's Bitcoin Gold going to do? Probably not that much. Bitcoin Diamond? Who cares about Bitcoin Diamond? Nobody. That's who. And on and on and on down the list. Obviously, the recent drama behind Bitcoin Private, secret pre-mine, all that kind of stuff. Again, the Bitcoin knockoffs will continue to struggle. And the final prediction from Weiss ratings that we will see new coins skyrocket into the top 10 spots. The interesting thing that they don't mention is who's going to be knocked out of the top 10. Perhaps even coins like Litecoin, which actually Weiss ratings put in their Bitcoin knockoff or Bitcoin Me Too category, which was an interesting thing to see. But perhaps Litecoin will be knocked out of the top 10 by something like Hedera Hashgraph or Holochain moving forward, even though not a lot of people are talking about these currently. Not a lot of people were talking about most things before they became the next big thing. Now, before we go and look at some crazy numbers that people are pulling out of their butts about the future price of Bitcoin, I thought it'd be fun to go back and look at predictions from 2018, which ended up being terribly wrong, because that's fun. Now, these were predictions that by the end of 2018, Bitcoin would be at the price of X. Tom Lee said $25,000 as the bear market drug on. He moved that down to $15,000. Obviously, the final reality was very far from that. An incredibly bullish analyst at the Danish investment bank Saxo Bank said $100,000 for Bitcoin. Only about $96,000 off, but kind of close. Kinda, all depends on perspective, I suppose. Mike Novogratz calling for $40,000 by the end of the year. Obviously, that didn't happen either. The chief executive of BitMEX, $50,000. And this weird dude talking about cryptocurrencies on the internet thought that $50,000 could have been possible by the end of 2018. We were all wrong. We were all so wrong. The bear market surprised a lot of people in just how far down it went. Predictions are fun, but at the end of the day, they are just predictions. Gives you a bit of hope. Maybe you can look at the reasoning behind those predictions, because that's what's actually really interesting at the end of the day. I think that Tom Lee probably gives some of the best analysis in terms of why he thinks that the price of Bitcoin is going to be worth more in the future than it is right now. Because the reasons are important. It's the miners, it's the infrastructure, it's adoption, all these different things come into play when we talk about the future price of Bitcoin. But putting an exact dollar value on an exact day or year. That being said, though, Bobby Lee calling for $333,000 Bitcoin. McAfee calling for $1 million still. One of the Winklevoss twins sees Bitcoin as a multi-trillion-dollar market cap asset. I do too. It's only a question of time. Tim Draper calling for $250,000 by 2020. Mark Yusko, $500,000 by the end of 2024. But what about 2019? What about 2019, guys? Some of those longer term numbers are easier to throw out because you have more room to be wrong, I suppose, or to rework your estimates when you make predictions so far out. But I think that the key point here with these wild numbers we throw out for Bitcoin price predictions is that the future of Bitcoin is incredibly bright. I can't see how you could look at the technology, what's being built, the industry, and all this stuff, and not be incredibly bullish on the future price potential of the asset. Now, in terms of 2019, I'm cautiously optimistic. I would love to see a new all-time high. That would be amazing. Everybody would welcome that. But are we actually going to see a new all-time high? We might just see some sideways and slightly up action happening throughout the rest of the year, perhaps retesting key points of resistance as we start moving back towards new all-time highs. The Bitcoin halving in 2020 is probably the event to really keep an eye out for, but 2019 could have a lot of surprises in store for us. One of the things I guess you have to ask yourself is, what do you see the future of Bitcoin be? Personally, you have to ask yourself, People on YouTube, we're going to talk all kinds of crazy stuff. People who run investment capital firms, they're going to talk about all kinds of crazy things. The news is going to say all kinds of crazy stuff. But what it really comes down to is you personally. Where do you think Bitcoin is going to be in the next few years, the next 10 years? Do you think that Bitcoin in 10 years could be a global reserve currency? Some are saying that might be possible. 10 years might be too short of a timeline, maybe 20 years. 20 years, the global reserve currency. If you think that's possible, well, Bitcoin's a screaming buy right now. Do you think that Bitcoin is digital gold? Even if you think that Bitcoin's digital gold, again, screaming buy right now, and I'll tell you why just momentarily. Or do you think that perhaps Bitcoin's just the trinket of time gone by and that it's going to be superseded by something in the very near future? Another cryptocurrency is going to overtake it. A different form of technology is going to overtake it. If you think that's going to happen, well, you have a very different opinion on whether or not Bitcoin is a good buy at the moment. But I think it's interesting to compare Bitcoin right now to gold, because a lot of people talk about Bitcoin as digital gold, the store of value, and all these different things. And it's interesting because gold, it's very old-fashioned. I know people like investing in gold, but gold, it's not actually super useful. Yeah, you can make jewelry with it, and yes, it is a component in different computer parts, but outside of that, it's really just a thing that people put in their closet or bury in their backyard or whatever they do with it as a store of value. Now, if we look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin's rare, which is a very big bonus for it, but also Bitcoin can't be confiscated by the government. Bitcoin is very easy to send internationally or to send anywhere for a transaction. If you ever tried to send a gold bar to the other side of the world? I haven't personally, but I imagine somebody probably has, and it's probably not a very easy process. There's probably customs forms to fill out, and you got to put it on a plane or a boat, and it takes a lot of time to get there. It's probably really expensive to ship a block of gold and all these different things. Bitcoin costs a couple of cents, gets around the world in an hour. That's pretty effective. Bitcoin's also very divisible, whereas gold is not. Can't go into a shop and let me just cut off a little piece of this gold block here for you to buy this cup of coffee. Doesn't quite work like that. Bitcoin you can do that with. Bitcoin you can cut off a little sliver of your total Bitcoin pie to purchase a cup of coffee, should that be what you want to do with your Bitcoin. So if you see all this, and you think about, well, wait a second, right now, Bitcoin is worth about 100 times less than the total market cap of gold. If you think someday that Bitcoin could be worth as much as gold, that's to say having around a $7 trillion market cap, well, your perspective again is very different on investing in Bitcoin now and the future of Bitcoin. Personally, investing in Bitcoin right now is a treat. You can get so much of it for such a cheap price relatively. You look back on $20,000 and to think of that feeling of regret, like, why didn't I buy Bitcoin when it was worth like $3,000 or $4,000? Well, now's that chance again. I've certainly been buying Bitcoin at these levels, and I'm incredibly bullish on the future, but perhaps I'm just biased. I live and breathe crypto all the time. I have a channel on the internet where I talk about cryptocurrencies, so perhaps I'm just so biased I can't see out of my own bubble. I don't think so. I like to look outside of the bubble quite frequently, but you have to make your own decision at the end of the day about the future price of Bitcoin. Again, I'm incredibly bullish. I think once you understand what Bitcoin is, what Bitcoin offers, how can you not be extremely excited about the future potential of Bitcoin and the entire related crypto industry? Not to just throw all the other coins under the bus here. Bitcoin's amazing and it leads. That's why we talk about Bitcoin so much. But all the other crypto assets, there is an amazing investment opportunity once again in the markets. It's always here. The only question is, do you have the eyes and the mind to see the opportunities when they are presented to you? Those are just my 2 Satoshis on the current price of Bitcoin and the future potential price of Bitcoin. You will let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come over here and watch this video. You guys are super awesome. I love you all. If you enjoyed this video, leave a thumbs up on it. that would be supremely awesome. Subscribe to the channel if you are new around here and you want to stay up to date with what is happening in crypto. You can also hit that notification bell to be informed when I put out a new video. Long live the blockchain, and peace out the next time.